Howdy readers, I'm Jason. This is Chapter and Verse, and this is Saturday morning of a long 3-day weekend. So I'm very, very happy about that. Gonna watch some tennis this weekend, gonna do some yard work, hopefully gonna do a lot of reading. But before I get into any of that, I wanted to just kind of take care of some unfinished business, so to speak. I really want to encourage people and plead with people to do the Booktube top 10s tag that I created. I really kind of dream of it being a kind of comprehensive spreadsheet of booktubers' tastes and favorites. And in order for it to be thus, people need to do the tag so I can then enter the information into the spreadsheet. And as it is, there's only 4 booktubers, myself included, who have participated in this. So the results are already starting to get vaguely interesting, but I'm not going to share them with anybody until it starts kind of gaining some traction. But anyway, so if you haven't done the Booktube top 10s tag yet that I created, please do. I will link to it in the description box underneath this video. Thank you in advance. Oh, and then the Great American Read. Okay, so I think some of you might be wondering why I didn't make a reaction video to the Great American Read program that aired on, I think it was Tuesday night this week. As we all know, I had been initially deeply excited about this project, and then they released their list of 100 books, and my enthusiasm kind of fell off a cliff, and so I decided to not participate in the project. Now, Kelly and I still watched the show on Tuesday night because I wanted to see how they handled the debacle that was this list. And what disappointed me most about the program was not, the little discussions about this shitty book or that shitty book, but the fact that, so here's a project that is designed to get people to read these books this summer, right? To inspire people to read these books. And we're watching the show, and on comes Will Wheaton, the actor, talking about his appreciation of Dune by Frank Herbert. Now, I have not read Dune yet. I own Dune, and I've been wanting to read Dune for years. And now I don't have to read Dune because Will Wheaton spoiled the ending, gave away the ending. So I was left wondering, as I kind of bristled with anger, why on earth would a program designed to inspire people to read books X, Y, and Z then tell people what happens at the end of books X, Y, and Z? It made no sense to me. And so anyway, we turned off the show after 45 minutes. And I'm kind of washing my hands of the Great American Read. So on to the acronyms. DNF, TBR, and my own NTF. Okay, need to finish. What are my thoughts on DNFing books, TBR lists, and I suppose need to finish is kind of wrapped into DNFing. So recently, I was looking at the Goodreads page of one of the booktubers whose channels I really like. And I saw on her Goodreads page that she had, I don't know, a couple months back or something like this, DNF'd Little Big by John Crowley. I have not read this, all right? I've owned it for a long time, but I have not read it. However, this is a book that is so highly regarded by so many people who are so brilliant that I am inclined to give it the benefit of the doubt. Right? So literary critic Harold Bloom, right, who is a pompous ass, right, that is something that cannot be disputed, but who is brilliant, right? He's got a mind like the sharp edge of a knife. Loves this book. Thinks this is one of the great books of the 20th century. Right? Haven Kimmel, okay, the author of A Girl Named Zippy and Iodine and The Solace of Leaving Early. Haven Kimmel is not a pompous ass. She is the furthest thing from it. She is one of the kindest, one of the most intelligent, and one of the wisest and wittiest people I've ever met, frankly. And she includes this book in her own top 10 books of all time. I have a difficult time understanding DNFing, right? Sometimes it's true, right? Sometimes we encounter books at the wrong time in life. But how can we know the difference between a book that just simply isn't good and a book that we're reading at a time when we're maybe not ready for it without finishing it, okay? Without giving it that benefit of the doubt and making our way through it. We need to see the book through to the end before we can understand what it looks like as a whole. Especially for readers who read fast, right? Which is most of you. I am not a fast reader, but so many of you are fast readers. I would encourage you to DNF fewer books, okay? Just as an exercise in maybe, just as an exercise in possibility, right? Maybe you've got the book wrong in the first 50 or 100 pages. You just might, but you'll never know until you get through it. And if you read quickly, it's not that big a deal for you. Another reason why I think it's important to finish even a book that we're not liking. And we do this in my book club all the time. So in my book club, you're required to finish the book, even if you don't like it. And there are reasons for that I'll go into in a future video. But one of the things finishing a bad book does is it gives you the opportunity and the license to either write or film a lacerating review of it. Now, bad reviews should be constructive as well, right? They should teach the reader or the viewer something about the act of reading. Okay, they should make us into better readers. It shouldn't just be a rant about a book. But even those constructive, incisive reviews, God, they can be fun. They can be so much fun to write and film. When a writer puts a book out into the world, it's sort of fair game. It's sort of fair game. You know, we shouldn't be tearing things apart just for the sake of tearing them apart. But if a book is bad, a review in which we kind of enumerate the reasons why it's poor, you know, the ways in which it fails, can be done in a way that is really gleeful and really joyful. And some of the best reviews written in the last 16 years in my book club have been negative reviews of really crappy books. And if any of us had just decided we weren't going to finish that book, we wouldn't have written a review, because you can't in good conscience pass judgment on something until you've completed it. You know, if somebody dives into Bleak House by Dickens and they're 8 pages in and they're like, this is just about fog, like it's nothing but fog, I don't know what he's doing, but I really could have gone the rest of my life without reading this much about fog, and then abandon the book, well, they would have missed out on one of the great experiences of their life, because they were rankling at the humidity in the pages, right? Yes, Dickens writes a lot about fog at the beginning, but there is a reason why. And you shouldn't take the first 10 pages of a book or the first 50 pages of a book as representative of the work itself, as representative of the book. DNFing, NTFing, did not finish, need to finish. So this is Fathers and Crows by William T. Vollmann. This killed a book club that I was in, that I started in Missoula. I chose this for the book club, and it killed the book club. Nobody was able to finish it, including myself. I got halfway through it. And here's the thing, though, right? So I am going to eventually start this anew and finish it, because there was, as maddening as the novel was, there was so much in it that was absolutely brilliant as well. And so I found the book endlessly intriguing and endlessly infuriating. But I feel like I owe it to the novel to finish it and see what I make of it in its entirety. So eventually I'll do that. The last thing I want to talk about just briefly is TBRs, right? The TBR shelf. We all have a TBR shelf on our Goodreads. And I've seen some videos in which booktubers express some anxiety about their TBR shelf, about wanting to get it down to 0 and being afraid they're not going to be able to get it down to 0. So a TBR shelf should not be like killing zombies in a post-apocalyptic world. Okay, right? Oh, I've read one more book. It's like a notch on the baseball bat, right? We shouldn't be trying to get to a kind of zero TBR in the same way that we would be trying to get to a zero zombie existence, a zero zombie world. So my own philosophy of a TBR shelf is that it should be bigger than we can ever get to, right? It should be so vast and so kind of encompassing of possibilities and a kind of limitless curiosity that that we should never be able to get to it, even if we live to be 200 years old. Right, so currently on my TBR shelf on Goodreads, I have 4,693 books. Okay, so I read on average about 25 books a year. So I figured out that if I add no more books to my TBR list ever again and just read what's on there now, it would take me an additional, on top of the years I've already lived, it would take me an additional 187 years to get to a zero TBR. I'm just not interested in that. But what I am interested in is always adding to that TBR, right? So that I can kind of sift through it and I can browse it and find something that strikes my fancy. Maybe something I've forgotten about. Maybe something I added to that TBR 10 years ago. And I just, I'm working my way through it and digging my way through it and stumble on a book that had completely slipped my mind, but looks like exactly the right book I need for right now. That's what a TBR list should be, right? So this is Howard Jacobson's Whatever It Is, I Don't Like It. And it's a collection of humorous columns he's written over the years. And in one of these pieces called Human Values, he writes this: how do you explain to somebody who doesn't understand that you don't build a library to read? A library is a resource, something you go to for reference as and when, but also something you simply look at because it gives you succor, answers to some idea of who you are, or, more to the point, who you would like to be, who you will be once you own every book you need to own. So when he's talking about a personal library, I really tend to think of it as a kind of personal TBR. We don't just put these lists of books together. We don't just build our personal libraries up to read everything that's in them, to read everything that's on the list. We create these as a kind of mosaic of our curiosity about the world, about our developing tastes as a reader. That's really the point of them. It's not so much to read them as it is to have the possibility of reading them, if that makes sense. So those are my thoughts on the phenomenon of TBRs. I realize these are just my own ideas. We all have different ideas, and we should have different ideas. I'm not here to persuade everybody or anybody even to think like I do. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of add my 2 cents to the conversation, and I'd be thrilled for any of you watching to add your 2 cents in the comments below. As ever, thanks for watching, and thanks for subscribing. I'm just over 200 subscribers now, and if the number stayed there forever, that would be fine with me. But it just thrills me and tickles me no end to wake up every day to see that I've added 1 or 2 people to that list, that 1 or 2 new people have deemed my videos of interest to them, whether in part or in whole. So have a good Memorial Day weekend, and I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.